There we go. All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Victor, and I'll be the one presenting with for you today. Today we are going to be talking about smarter IT spending for your growing business, especially unlocking cost efficiency using Microsoft Azure and the Azure cloud. All right. So before we get started, let me go ahead and give you a little bit of an introduction of who I am and who Celestetek is, so you can go ahead and get a better idea as to who's speaking and everything, right? So with that said, let's go ahead and get started here. So a little bit about Celestetek first, right? So Celestetek was founded by ex-Microsoft consultants with decades of experience working with Microsoft partners all over the world, right? Me as one of the founders, right, focus a lot on cutting edge Azure solutions, especially around Azure infrastructure and security. And as a result, after Microsoft, we're like, I still want to help out partners. I still want to help out customers. So essentially, we want to help out your business to go ahead and have great operations, be on the cutting edge with cloud and AI and all the latest technology. At the same time, making sure that you're safe and secure and you're optimal in regarding to performance and cost and everything, right? So now Celestetek is a couple of years old. We are a Microsoft Solutions partner in the Azure infrastructure space. So we look forward to partnering up with you to help you along your cloud journey. And as for myself, I'm one of the co-founders of Celestetek, right? I am based here in Dallas, Texas. So I've been in Texas since I was born. Uh, as some people would say, you came to Texas as soon as I could, right? So I'm one of the co-founders. I worked 6 years at Microsoft as a technical consultant, focusing on Azure infrastructure, but along with the Microsoft Partner Program as well. I'm a specialist in that space, in the Azure infrastructure security space. I have certifications. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. So sometimes on time off and other lives, I do help out other people so they can learn Microsoft technologies. They can get certifications themselves as well, right? So with that said, myself and us here at Celestetek, we pretty much live in the cloud. We were molded by Microsoft internally to have this cloud first mentality and really leverage all the different capabilities uh, that makes it unique and very powerful for your organization. And we understand very well the business propositions to help your organization to go ahead and just move forward and take advantage of those benefits of having your a cloud footprint, right? Which is becoming much more and more important as technology is evolving, not just cloud, but to AI and agentic AIs, where being on the cloud is definitely a benefit, and it helps you just be able to pivot that much faster. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into what we're going to be talking about today, right? Saving on the cloud, right? Pretty much leverage a different combination of techniques and tools so that we can go ahead and do these four main pillars that I kind of put around that, which is understand the cloud, understand costs, how costs are produced, make estimates so that you can properly estimate what you're expected to pay, right? Because that's one of the biggest things that pop up is, hey, I thought I built something on the cloud and our first bill came and I am shocked. I am surprised. I have this massive bill that I don't know how it got to that amount, right? So by having good practices, good financial practices, you can go ahead and not be surprised, right? Because that's the least thing that your CFO or your finance, your accounting team wants to know is have a surprise bill, right? Beyond that is once you're in the cloud or are in the middle of deploying to the cloud, is how do you optimize it? What are some tools, techniques that you can go ahead and leverage so that you can go ahead and make sure that you keep those costs as low as possible without sacrificing security, without sacrificing performance or operational excellence, right? Amongst the other pillars, whenever you have a very well architected solution in the cloud, right? And then finally, how to review. How to find out what you owe and where are those costs and how you can see those costs so that you know what you ended up spending money on, what you are currently spending money on, and what you're expecting to. And at the same time, you can leverage those tools so you can go ahead and present it to your board of directors, your C-suite executives, so that you can go ahead and justify the cloud spend and make the tweaks that are necessary to go ahead and just be operationally and financially sound, right? So we're going to go ahead and start off with understanding the cloud cost, right? So understanding and architecting what you are going to be building is the very first step towards taking control of your cloud finance, right? Usually people say, hey, I want this amazing solution. I want to build my own AI chatbot on Azure Cloud. I want to migrate my workloads to Azure Cloud, or I want to go ahead and have a disaster recovery plan on the cloud, right? There are a number of different projects and a number of different solutions. It's not a one size fits all type of answer that is available there, right? So there's not a one size fits all. So you have to kind of be aware of, okay, what am I going to build? What is necessary? And as a result, this is where an architecting phase usually comes in. And I've talked with clients of mine, customers of mine, where they kind of just want to get the ball rolling. Say, hey, I need an MVP. I need to just start deploying, and you have developers that are a little too happy to just start writing code and pushing it out there without kind of taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture and saying, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? What are all going to be the tools that we need, right? I'll always think of those proverbs where it says, hey, you got to count the cost, unless you want to be ridiculed, right? You start building a house and you run out of money and it's only halfway built, right? Same thing with cloud, right? You want to go ahead and kind of count your costs up front, and in order to do that, you need to know what you're going to be building, and also understanding how those different products are built. Most of the Microsoft products and AWS and Google Cloud as well, right? They're all pretty similar in this regards. Is they charge you based off your consumption or the time that that product is up and running. Storage, for example, I'm going to use that as a perfect example. There's different types of storage out there. Simple blob storage is the most common storage that you see. S3, if you're coming from an AWS background, is, hey, we're going to charge you based off how many gigabytes or terabytes you are consuming. Great. So you have a set price. I don't know, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 10 cents per gigabyte. And you say, hey, I have 35 gigabytes out there. So, okay, it's going to cost you $3.50 per month, more or less. Great. It's a one way of looking at the cost and saying, now you know how much you're going to be consuming based as to how much stuff you have stored there. Same principle, storage cost for disk. It's a different type of storage. It's still storage nonetheless. People assume that they're only being charged by what they're being consumed, but when you look at disk, you're actually getting charged by what your disk is being provisioned at. So if your disk is being provisioned for 64 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes, 100 gigabytes, right? You're getting charged for that entire amount, regardless if you're using only 2, 3 gigs of that or the entire amount. So those are little nuances that come across and understanding, how much a product costs and understanding the ins and outs of it. And usually you want to work with your cloud engineer, your cloud architect, along with your financial decision maker, so you can make some of those decisions where you can say, hey, this is the right product. It's gonna, it's the best product for performance, best product for security, and this is what we expect to go ahead and estimate for that, right? And that leads me to the next section, which is estimating your costs, right? So In Microsoft has a really great product. This is arguably one of the most underrated products that Microsoft has is the Azure Pricing Calculator. Okay, it's a free product. It's available to anyone. You don't even need an Azure subscription or a Microsoft subscription. You can literally, it's just a website where you can go in there and it gives you a pricing for every single product, every single SKU they offer, in every single region, right? So you're actually able to go in there and select, putting your architecture and select, okay, I need a virtual machine, select the proper size of it, select the region of it, be able to go ahead and also add additional items that are needed like disks or IP addresses and storage accounts and networking elements, right? So you're able to go ahead and kind of have that complete picture, right? One of the fears I always hear, obviously, is like, cloud costs are unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen, right? And if done properly, they're not going to be like that. I always equate having your cloud invoice should be similar to like a utility bill. You have a pretty good idea what your water costs are going to be every month, right? You might be off a couple of dollars here and there, but if your consumption remains the same, right, the costs tend to be relatively the same, from one month to the next, right? Same with electricity, gas, etc., right? Those costs tend to, they vary because they're consumption-based costs, but they're not going to skyrocket all of a sudden without any, you know, justifiable cost, right? We see that here in Texas, our electric bills tend to go up in the summer because we have the air conditioning on just because it's so hot outside, right? But we know that our electric bills are going to go up because we're running the AC 24/7. So in the same way, if you're estimating the cloud items, you can go ahead and create these estimates that not just you can have them up front before you start building anything. You can use this along with your architectures to kind of do a comparison and have a much more solid plan so that you can move forward when you are finally going to that building phase of deploying the actual items and such. And the beauty of it is, since it's a free product, it's there, it's saved. There's tools where you can save it, you can export it, you can actually always go back and modify it and say, hey, you know what, we needed a bigger virtual machine because performance, or we needed additional resources. So you're able to go ahead and make those adjustments as needed, so that you can try to stay, as accurate as possible, overall for that. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you the pricing calculator in just a bit, but I'm just going to go show you one more thing, which is optimizing your cloud cost. And you're going to be able to see how you can relate that back to your calculator, as well, right? So there are a number of different programs within, in this case, the Microsoft ecosystem to save money, right? Microsoft cares more about you using their resources than to nickel and dime you over every single thing, which kind of sounds contrary to what they do, but they value the relationship much more because they know if you build on their solution, you're gonna end up using more of their products, right? So as a result, they want to make it give you tools to save money as well. And they've kind of heard some of those pain points, right? Two of the most popular tools out there are reservations and hybrid benefits, right? So these are cost tools that are there to help you save money. Reservations in particular are very easy to implement, especially for those workloads that are consistent. They're running 24/7. You will need that domain controller. You need that web server that's just running constantly, right? And you're saying, hey, I'm going to need this for the next year. I'm going to need this for the next 3 years. As a result, you can go ahead and make those commitments, kind of like you used to with the cell phone plans back in the day, and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and commit to a 1 year reservation or a 3 year reservation. As a result, you can save up almost, 70+% of your cost, of that compute cost or that storage cost. And the number of products that have reservations now, it has significantly increased versus just virtual machines a few years ago. So knowing that you're going to be able to do that, it might be a great idea. On the other side, the other big driver of some of these costs, and you see this more on the virtual machine and compute side, are hybrid benefits, and that's licensing. A lot of companies have licensing they can leverage on the cloud. They have those SQL, those Microsoft Windows licenses that say, hey, you have that software assurance, you can run this anywhere. So as a result, you can leverage those existing licenses on the cloud and say, hey, you know what? I already have it. I don't want to pay for it a second time. I don't want to go ahead and have to pay, monthly for a license. And as a result, that drastically reduces cost altogether. And I've seen it where it's, especially on the SQL side, to be honest, I've seen it bills come down like 40, 50, 60% just by having those hybrid benefits enabled, right? So those are the two big ones. They're not the only ones. They're not the only tools out there that are in place to help you optimize cost. There are alternate models out there. For example, spot virtual machines for those workloads that are just not important enough to have something dedicated, or it's okay to be turned off. Azure savings plans, where you kind of have an idea of what compute you're going to be using or how much, but not specific to certain machines. uh, Same time, there's third-party tools and vendors that work with Microsoft Cloud, and as a result, you can probably save money by leveraging their 1 year, 3 year plans as well, to go ahead and say, hey, let's go ahead and do that, or we're gonna use a tool to go ahead and review all of our unused resources or underutilized resources, as well, right? And one thing, I talked a lot about reservations, but the other tool that, well, not necessarily tool, but the other part that kind of helps is the flexibility of a pay as you go, right? You don't have to make those commitments. And this is great for workloads that are can be turned off on the weekends or at nights, or scaled down because of lower traffic. So there are perks of being flexible and saying, and not being saying, not thinking that 1 year reservations or reservations are the only way to save money. Being flexible as to how you go ahead and use your services is a great way. Especially, I always say this to like students and say, hey, get an Azure subscription, go through some of the free stuff, or if you have credits, go through that. Just make sure you turn off your virtual machine every night. Set up an auto shutdown at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or something like that. And those type of practices always help so that it can maintain that cost a little bit lower. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off the presentation real quick and just give you a little bit of a showcase as to how those tools really look like overall, right? So kind of starting off with your architecture. You got to think about what you're going to be building, what you need to build. Sometimes building a VM is not just building a VM. You got to think about all the other components along with that, such as IP addresses, storage accounts, gateways, or possible VPNs, disks, ways how you're going to go ahead and connect to that. So sometimes, especially people are newer to the cloud, sometimes say, "Oh, I just need a virtual machine." Well, you need a little bit more to have a complete solution. So this is just a simple architecture. Microsoft has amazing architecture and reference architectures out there. Here we can, I've seen tons of these, and I've developed a ton of these where we come up with a good architecture for a customer, so that we can say, okay, this is exactly what's needed. It's not just a machine, or it's not just an app service beyond that. Um, Now this is your pricing calculator. So now once you know what you need, you can actually come in here, and it's does a really great job at accurately giving you, how can I say it, what the pricing is going to be, right? So you're able to select, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and select a virtual machine. I need it in South Central because I'm in Texas, right? We're gonna select Windows because that's what we're gonna be using, or Linux, right? Do I need SQL on it? Yes or no? Same with the tiers and such, right? And from there, you're able to select, okay, what type of compute do I need? Do I need something really massive, something smaller, right? And what's going to happen is that cost is going to vary depending as to what machine is. And there, I'll be honest with you, there's such a huge variety of machines. You're looking from tens of dollars to tens of thousands of dollars per month overall for that. Just to give you an idea as to how drastically the pricing could be in a, for a machine on there, and depending on your workload, right? I've helped companies where they literally buy $3,000 machines every other day, and they're just loading multiple of those because they have immense graphic capabilities that, like, they need that to run their work, right? um, engineering work and stuff like that. And I have some that were like, hey, I just want the smallest machine out there. Beyond that, you can specify how long your machine is going to be running. By default, 730 hours, which is about 24/7. Every month's a little bit different. And then this is where you can even estimate those saving cost options, where you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and, instead of paying for it 24/7, I'm going to do a 1-year reservation. As a result, you literally saw that price go from $8,500 to $6,400 just by committing to a year. And that's the price per month, right? $2,100 every month that you can save. Imagine just telling that to your leadership, and they'll be ecstatic. You go 3 years, that's even more, right? Hybrid benefits. Hey, we have the licenses already here. You know what? That we just saved over $3,000 a month just by leveraging the licensing that we already have. And of course, once you combine these things, you go from an $8,500 machine to a $2,000 machine. That is a lot of money that you can save, right? Altogether and overall. And then beyond that, beyond just looking at those little nuances, you can look at those costs and say, oh, I need this, I need more higher performing disk, I need maybe 3 of them, etc. Right? And you can go into all those little nooks and crannies, all those nuances all together. So just wanted to kind of show that to you here really briefly. A really, really tool that you can go ahead and leverage is, just search Azure Pricing Calculator. It's a simple website, and it'll definitely pop up for you overall for that. So great. So we kind of know, hey, I need to architect my solutions really well. I need to estimate my costs. I need to go ahead and optimize my costs, right? It's going to help out. And then the other tool, the final tool, the tool you're probably going to spend the most time on there is you got to review your spend and see, hey, how much did I actually cost? So once the month is over, how much money have I actually spent? And Microsoft has an amazing cost management tool that from there you're able to export and create all these reports in the tool or out of the tool. It helps you look at your current spend during the month, look at your projected spend if everything remains the same for that period, that monthly period, which Microsoft charges from the first to the end of the month. You can also create budgets so that hey, I'm only going to spend $1,000 a month or $100 a month, etc. Right? And you can also set up, along with the budgets, alerts to go along with that, so you can get those notifications and say, hey, I am close to that budget spend. I need to go ahead and take some actions, or I'm forecasted to go over. I need to go ahead and take some actions, whether they are turning off machines, deleting resources, modifying some of the existing items that are there altogether. So this is a very powerful tool. I have helped a ton of partners understand how it works, understand the different ways you can pull out reports. You can get very creative, from your tagging capabilities to different subscriptions, resource groups, different types of resources, different types of graphs that are available out there. So you can go ahead and kind of get an idea as to what you're spending on it. This graphic right here is very low, but I've literally been with customers where their spend has been $200,000-$300,000 every month, plus their annual reservations and stuff like that they do, which costs over $500,000, right? So some massive numbers that do. And trust me, some of the big enterprises will spend millions of dollars on there, and they have a practice here, their FinOps, their financial practice, to review these, and they go to their they're up possibly all the way up to their CFO altogether. So you have these amazing graphics that you can go ahead and do, and you can go ahead and modify them. Look at views that you already have. You can also go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I want to go ahead and add filters, and just say, hey, I want to just know what's being spent in one region of the country and versus others, and look at how these graphs are definitely modified and everything like that, depending as to what is needed for you. So kind of going back here, so we kind of hit the four pillars that we wanted to hit today, which was to plan your spend, estimate your spend, optimize your spend, and then review your spend altogether. Here we're able to help you out with that, and it's just tools that are available to you that are free, that are included. So none of this is additional stuff that you have to spend for your existing cloud practice. It's just a matter of knowing where those tools are, start using them all together. Right. So with that said, I know we have a handful of minutes left. I want to say thank you for attending. Thank you for watching, if you're watching this in the future. And we are here to help you out. If you have any questions right now, feel free to put them in the chat in the Q&A section. I'll help answer them. And if not, my contact information is here on the screen. I'll go ahead and put that also in the chat as well. That way you guys can go ahead and get a hold of us and see what questions you have. And it could be something really, really simple, something a little bit more complex. Trust me, I've gone through a number of scenarios before where it's something like, hey, let me just show you where this tool is, or oh, we need to craft a deeper financial operations plan and really look at company spend and save money there, right? So um, that is something that we can definitely help you out with. So with that said, thank you once again. I'll pause here, see if there's any questions. I think something just popped up in the chat real quick for that. So let's just see what came up here. Thank you. Thanks for the inside presentation. Oh, you're welcome. Attendee. It doesn't give me a name, but it's all good there. Um, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my email here. Just there you go. In case you guys need to go ahead and get a hold of me for something that or questions you might have afterwards. All right. Do you have any other questions here? And I'll say this. This is just a brief and quick overview. You can go way deeper in any of these tools.